There were lots of black people in Germany in the 18th century. Their number decreased after a while, causing few or no Afro-German in some parts of Germany. Cities like Hamburg and Frankfurt, which were formerly centers of occupation forces following the Second World War II, and more recent migration have substantial Afro-German communities. With modern trade and migration, communities such as Frankfurt, Berlin, Munich, and Cologne have increased the number of Afro-Germans in Germany. Kevin Prince Boateng and his twin brother Jerome are descendants from Afro-Germans. In this video, we are going to talk about the erasure of African descent in Germany and what led to their reduction. Stay tuned and learn more about how black Afro-Germans have been targeted, neglected, excluded, sterilized, persecuted, and murdered. The world wonder how and why German people have chosen to get rid of its black population. To answer this question, I will try to be simple, clear, and precise to help you to understand the process that led to their reduction. You can support us by hitting the subscription button. Let us start by giving you a short image on the history of the Afro-Germans. The Afro-Germans, otherwise known as Black Germans, are citizens or residents of Germany that are from sub-Saharan Africa. Frederick William, a Grand Elector of Brandenburg, Prussia, founded the Brandenburg Africa Company in 1682. He later ordered the establishment of the fort on the coast of the present Ghana to rival Europe's great sea power. The fort was named Gross Friedrichsburg. It was designed to serve as a point of departure of German slave trade. Years later, German slave ships such as the Frederick III transported thousands of African slaves. Some of them ended up on the slave market of St. Thomas in Virgin Island. St. Thomas is known to be the most prominent slave market in the world. Africans were brought as slaves from the western coast of Africa, where a number of German estates were established, mainly on the Gold Coast. 12 Negro boys were brought from the west part of Africa. 6 were decorated with golden chains and later presented to the king. These enslaved children were later bought by their new masters and were taken to Potsdam and Berlin. During this period, slaves were treated for German linen fabrics and interracial couples were pressured. Before the World War I, thousands of black people had a home in Germany. Some came from Africa, South and North America, and others from Caribbean. The World War I has limited the inter-country travels and migration. In 1914, the Germans imposed strict migration rules. Some that had traveled to the country for business only stayed for a while, then left some hours before the World War began. After the World War I ended, the migrants who were still in the country could not leave because they had no passports or travel documents, hence they were stranded in the country. The removal of people of African descent is a gradual process that eventually occurred after several harsh conditions, rules, and laws. The Nazi, short for National Socialists, were a political party that rose the power in Germany in 1930s, led by the notorious criminal person of all the time, Adolf Hitler. The Nazi Party was known for its extreme nationalism, racism, and totalitarianism, and sought to establish a fascist state based on these ideas. In 1990s, several thousand of black were living in Deutschland, But when the Nazi came to power, the blacks were harassed and persecuted. The Nazi regime promoted the idea of Aryan supremacy and aimed to purify the German population through eugenics and racial policies. Non-Aryan, including Jews, Roma, Sinti, homosexuals, disabled individuals, and people of African descent were considered inferior and were targeted for exclusion and persecution. During this period, the Nazi policies became more extreme. The Nazis created laws that made most black people to end up in prisons, hospitals, psychiatric hospitals, and concentration camps. We'll stop here for 10 seconds to encourage us to continue to make such videos. Please subscribe to our channel and like our video. Do not forget to turn on the notification so that you get notified whenever we post such interacting video. We thank you so much. Many Afro-Germans were also forcibly conscripted into German army service during the war to fight in front lines. They got discriminated and mainly shot and killed easily. Some Afro-German soldiers were sent to Eastern Front, where they were treated exceptionally harshly by their Pharaoh and subjected to brutal conditions. A lot of Afro-Germans died during this period. This is one of the reasons which led to their decline in German population. Forced sterilization. This was a wicked strategy used by Nazi to prosecute black people in Germany. They by force sterilized the multiracial children in Rhineland. The Nazi wanted to prevent the country from race mixing, so they sterilized black men by force, while seeing them as a threat to their strength and purity of the Aryan race. This sterilization was with the single purpose of making them unable to have children. They announced laws for prevention of offspring with hereditary disease in a bid to prevent racial mixing in the year 1933. During this period, over 400,000 of black were sterilized. For instance, Ferdinand Aryan, known as a descendant of a former black British father and white German mother, suffered from epilepsy and was forcibly sterilized by court order of 15th of May in 1941. Allen was later murdered at Benbrücke by Nazi following their T4 program. We are going shortly to tell you more about this T4 Nazi program. Established a secret Gestapo that coordinated the forced sterilization of multiracial children in 1930, and a total of 390 children and young adults were forcibly sterilized. The T4 program, also known as the euthanasia program, was a Nazi policy involving the involuntary death of people with physical and mental disabilities. The program mainly targeted the groups deemed unworthy of life. Those are Jews and black Afro-Germans. The T4 program has successfully impacted to the decline of Afro-Germans because it allowed the forced sterilization and the murder of those who were considered racially inferior. One of the victims of T4 program is Hilaria Sirari Guilgay, a black German dancer and a communist activist. He was murdered by Nazi and his body was left on the street in June 20, 1933. They erected Nuremberg race laws. The Nazi regime declared the Nuremberg race laws in October 1934. These laws was put in place because of Jews, but in November these laws affected the black Germans and the Roman people that was living in Germany. These laws excluded the non-Aryan from political rights in Germany and aim to protect the German blood and honor. They used these laws to ban the race mixing by making it a crime to make intermarriage or sexual relationship between German or its related blood and black people. The laws underlined its objectives of preventing black people from marrying and having children with Germans. The Nuremberg race laws made it so difficult for blacks in Germany to marry or build a future. Despite the laws against interracial couples, some blacks who were romantically engaged to the German Aryan got married, though such relationships were very dangerous for both partners. The laws pressured the white German women to divorce their black husbands. German people felt the presence of the Afro-German was another evil and a threat to their country. Afro-German were popularly known as the Rhineland bastards, a derogatory term used to describe the people of mixed ancestry. The detests of African descent also made Bernard Denberg, the German director for colonial affairs, make a derogatory statement. He announced that some native tribes, just like other animals, must be destroyed. During this period, not only Africans were hated, also the Jews in some regions were criticized. Black children were excluded from schools. The children wanted to be part of the German excitement, but that was not allowed. They suffered a lot of criticism from their parents and felt lonely, isolated, excluded from the society. At first, the discrimination against school children was a local initiative. The things got worse when the Nazis took the control over schools and directly enforced the formal bans against black students. The Nazi law completely banned black and Jewish children from attending German public schools. Let us finish our today's episode by here. You can please support us by subscribe to our channel and like our video.